The cameras flashed, the crowd froze. And just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession.
Imagine it. You're in the Ed Sullivan Theater.
The house band is playing, the lights are up, the applause is just thundering. It's that classic late-night energy.
But then it just shifts.
Mm.
The laughter, the clapping, it all just sort of fades.
And in that silence, Stephen Colbert drops a bombshell that just sucks all the air out of the room. He tells his audience he only found out the night before.
The show's over.
His time is up. And that moment, it felt less like a show ending and more like, I don't know, a funeral for an entire era.
People there said you could feel the energy just drop.
And the audience, they didn't just gasp, they booed. They were yelling, no.
And Colbert, he just looked at them, totally unscripted, and said, yeah, I share your feelings.
That was back in July 2025. Now it's Tuesday, February 17, 2026. We're just months away from that final broadcast in May.
And the fallout, it hasn't stopped. It's gotten worse.
Because this wasn't just one host losing a show. This was the start of the crumbling of, well, the Tiffany network. CBS as we knew it, it's gone.
Welcome to StarScope Report.
I'm Jordan.
And I'm Jamie.
Join us as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today we're connecting the dots. We're talking corporate mega mergers, massive political lawsuits,
And all the backstage gossip that is tearing one of America's oldest institutions apart. We're asking, is this a financial restructuring?
or are we watching a political purge play out in real time? We've got sources on the cancellation of The Late Show, a revolt inside 60 Minutes.
And an exodus of A-list talent that really just hit a breaking point yesterday.
So let's start with Colbert. The headline was a shocker. CBS officially cancels The Late Show with Stephen Colbert and retires the whole franchise in May 2026.
Which is just wild. I mean, you replace a host, right? You don't burn the whole show to the ground.
Exactly. The Tonight Show survived Carson leaving. The Daily Show survived Jon Stewart. You don't just cancel the entire time slot.
But CBS's official line was that this was a purely financial decision.
Right.
They claimed the show was losing $40 million a year because of a, tough ad market.
Okay, let's stop there. Because that excuse, it smells a little fishy to me.
A little.
Colbert has been #1 for 9 straight seasons. 9. When do you cancel the winner? Is $40 million really enough to sink a flagship show like that?
Well, that's where the skepticism comes in, and it comes in heavy. But to be fair to their argument for a second,
Okay.
late night is incredibly expensive. You got the band, the writers union, guest fees, Colbert's huge salary. In the old days, a 30-second ad spot in his show was gold.
And now?
Now it's all programmatic advertising. Algorithms buy ads everywhere. That premium for one specific TV slot, it's pretty much collapsed. So on paper, yeah,
Why?
it could be in the red.
So you're saying they might actually be losing money?
On the books, maybe.
Yeah.
But, this is a huge, but networks use these shows as loss leaders.
For prestige.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gives you prestige, you promote your other shows, it keeps affiliates happy. Canceling the #1 show for a $40 million gap, it feels like firing your star quarterback to save money on laundry.
It doesn't track.
It doesn't.
Unless you look at who owns the team. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because you can't talk about this without talking about the massive elephant in the room.
The massive lawsuit in the room.
Right. You have to look at the timing. This all came down during the final stages of the Paramount Skydance merger. This is where David Ellison takes control.
And a merger that big needs federal approval from the DOJ. And who's in charge of the DOJ?
The Trump administration.
Yeah.
And that takes us to the lawsuit. Back in 2024, Donald Trump filed a $10 billion lawsuit against CBS.
Over a 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris, he claimed news distortion because of how it was edited.
Legal experts said the suit was baseless, First Amendment, editorial discretion, all that. But it was a cloud over the merger.
And then something very strange happened. Just days, literally days before Colbert got the axe.
Paramount settled it. They paid $16 million to make it go away.
A lawsuit they were told they would win.
So Colbert, being Colbert, gets on the air and he just goes after them. He called the settlement, and this is a direct quote, a big fat bribe.
He basically accused his own parent company of paying off the president to get their merger approved.
That might have been the landmine. Soon after, the show is canceled, and the political reaction was immediate.
Trump posted on Truth Social, I absolutely love that Colbert got fired, and then he added, I hear Jimmy Kimmel is next.
Which prompted Kimmel to tweet back something very colorful. I believe it was F you and all your Sheldons, CBS.
Succinct, But it wasn't just comedians. Politicians like Adam Schiff were questioning if this was a quid pro quo.
Kill the critic to get your deal approved. It sends a message, you know.
And that message was received loud and clear inside the building. If your staff thinks you'll cave to political pressure, you've lost the room.
And if you think the drama at the Ed Sullivan Theater was intense, just wait. Wait until you hear about the kill switch that was activated inside America's most prestigious newsroom.
Up next, we take you inside a meeting where a legendary anchor told his new boss to take her job more seriously.
And absolute chaos ensued.
It is a scene straight out of a thriller, and it explains why the people you trust are now heading for the exits.
We'll get to that in a moment, but first, if you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead.
So while late night was reeling, the news division was facing its own crisis. We keep calling it the Tiffany Network.
For anyone listening who doesn't know that term, what does it mean? Why Tiffany?
It goes all the way back to Walter Cronkite. It meant quality. It meant integrity. CBS News wasn't just another channel, it was a public trust. The Tiffany label meant it was the gold standard.
And the guardian of that standard was always 60 Minutes. But the sources we have suggest the crown jewels are being pawned off.
And it all centers around one story. The CECOT story.
Right. This is a report by Sharon Alfonsi. She went to El Salvador to investigate this CECOT mega prison where the U.S. had deported hundreds of Venezuelan migrants.
And her report was harrowing, allegations of torture, beatings, just horrific conditions. This was the kind of heavy investigative journalism that wins awards.
The story was vetted, fact-checked, lawyered, screened 5 times. It was ready to air in December 2025.
And then 48 hours before broadcast, it gets pulled.
Pulled by Bari Weiss.
Yes, the new editor-in-chief. She was installed after Skydance bought her media startup, the Free Press. She has no background in producing TV news.
And she pulled it because she wanted an on-camera response from the Trump administration.
Even though they had already declined to comment, and this is the core of the whole conflict.
Alfonsi wrote this blistering internal memo. She argued that if you let the government kill a story just by refusing to comment, you've handed them a kill switch for all journalism.
It's a loophole, right? If you're a politician and you don't want a story to run, you just stay silent, and then the network kills it for lack of balance.
You stop being a watchdog and you just become a PR firm.
The whole thing boiled over in a staff meeting. You have Weiss explaining her decision, and then Scott Pelley stands up.
A 30-year veteran, the voice of authority.
And he reportedly told Weiss, in front of everyone, that she needs to take her job a little bit more seriously.
He called her out for not even attending the screenings of the piece she killed. He basically accused her of making a political call without doing the journalism.
The tension in that room must have been. I mean, you could cut it with a knife.
The story did eventually air a month later, but the damage was done. The leadership team just couldn't survive it.
First, the executive producer of 60 Minutes, Bill Owens, resigned. His farewell letter said, "It has become clear that I would not be allowed to run the show as I have always run it."
Not allowed to run it, that says it all.
And right behind him was Wendy McMahon, the CEO of CBS News. She resigned in protest. She couldn't support the direction the company was taking.
It's a total decapitation of the news division. The people protecting the integrity are gone. And now that chaos is trickling down to the faces you see on TV.
Which brings us to the news that just broke yesterday. A departure that really feels like the end of an era.
Coming up, he's been the face of New Year's Eve and hard-hitting reporting for decades. But after 20 years, Anderson Cooper is walking away from CBS.
And we're hearing rumors that the Queen of Mornings, Gayle King, could be the next casualty. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next.
Okay, Anderson Cooper, this news just dropped. After nearly 20 years, he is leaving 60 Minutes.
This is huge. Cooper had that really unique deal where he was the face of CNN, but also a regular on 60 Minutes.
The official line is that he wants to spend more time with his kids. And look, that's a perfectly valid reason, but the timing.
The timing is impossible to ignore. Sources are pointing right back to the turmoil we just talked about, the new vision of Bari Weiss.
And get this, Cooper just signed a massive extension with CNN. It's reported to be around $18 million a year.
And here's the juicy part. CBS leadership apparently tried to get him to anchor the CBS Evening News. They offered him the big chair.
And he said no. He chose to stay at CNN rather than become the face of the new CBS.
That speaks volumes. If Anderson Cooper doesn't trust the editorial independence of the new bosses, why would he take that job?
And he's not the only one. Let's talk about Gayle King. Variety is reporting she's expected to leave CBS Mornings when her contract is up.
The word that keeps coming up is clash, an ideological clash. Weiss reportedly thinks King is wasting her connections and wants to move away from liberal voices.
It feels like they're just clearing the deck. Colbert's out, Cooper's walking, Gayle King is likely next. So who's replacing them? What is this new CBS?
Well, we're starting to see it. Tony Dokoupil is the new anchor of the CBS Evening News.
He's 44, the youngest anchor in that seat for a long, long time.
And his mission is very specific. Weiss has said he's there to win back trust and speak to the 70% in the middle.
The 70% in the middle. That sounds more like a campaign slogan than a news strategy.
It is a strategy, but here's what really signals the shift. Weiss hired 19 new contributors.
And these are not your typical reporters, are they?
No, this is her startup mentality. She's bringing in podcasters, tech figures, and what she calls heterodox voices.
Heterodox, that's a word we need to unpack. It usually means people who go against the mainstream.
Right. In this context, it often means contrarian thinkers, anti-woke commentators.
Yeah.
People who really thrive in the culture war space.
So instead of hiring a reporter to go to Ukraine, they're hiring an influencer to give us their take on Ukraine.
Exactly. And from a business perspective, it's brilliant. Opinions are cheap. Reporting is expensive.
So this startup mentality is really a cost-cutting measure dressed up as an ideological pivot.
It's both. You cut the expensive investigative units, we saw that 15% workforce reduction, and you replace them with commentary that gets clicks.
One producer who took a buyout wrote a farewell note saying stories are now being judged on whether they fit ideological expectations, not on journalistic merit.
And that is the death knell for the Tiffany network. If you start with a conclusion and work backward, you aren't doing news, you're doing propaganda.
It's chilling. They're stripping the network for parts and rebuilding it as something else entirely. It's like turning a library into a content farm.
That's a great way to put it. The trust that institutions like 60 Minutes took decades to build can be lost so quickly.
So let's just recap. In less than a year, The Late Show is canceled. The leadership of 60 Minutes resigns in protest. A major human rights story is pulled. Anderson Cooper walks. And the network is pivoting to a model filled with influencers.
It's the swift, deliberate dismantling of a legacy. What Walter Cronkite built is being re-engineered from the ground up.
So what does it all mean?
I mean, it raises a huge question. Is this just a business trying to evolve for the digital age?
Or have we just watched the deliberate destruction of a news institution to appease political power?
And when the lights go out at the Ed Sullivan Theater for the last time and the old guard is gone, what are we left with? Is it CBS or just another channel for the highest bidder?
That's the story we'll be watching. You've been listening to StarScope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.